Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below this video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by John, 10th Man, Neil, Eli, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello, good
How are
morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Good to have you
Yay.
all. Hello, hello. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as Earth curvature?
Nope.
Gonna need off
Can't
that.
measure it.
Gonna need after that.
Can't measure it.
I overheard half a
If you can't
conversation
measure
about
it,
you
it's not
still
real.
wanting to acquire that, John.
Yeah, like you should be able to measure this physical thing they're claiming. If you can't measure it, it's not real.
Well, you could measure it, it's just not a sphere.
No, you can't.
Measure a arbitrary radius of what, Arwin?
Oh, a radius, right. No. No, but you can measure the Earth, you can still measure what's out there, right? It's just, as soon as you try to measure it as if it were a sphere, that's when you run into problems. Geometric problems, black swan problems.
What about the geometric considerations they talk about?
Well, if you want to consider that you have a sphere geometry beneath your feet, then that's perfectly within your rights to do so.
Nah.
Yeah. Far be it for me to tell you that you're not allowed to reify the ground beneath your feet into a curved Earth. You can if you want to. It doesn't mean it is, but you can if you want to. I mean, you can imagine the world as a roast chicken if you choose to.
Right.
Brian said something the other day when he was talking about putting a protractor on a basketball, and it's just like, I mean, what is it going to take for people to realize that it's an impossibility to be on a spinning water ball and have cities and buildings and bridges and all these things that we build on and live in?
Willingness is what it requires. And until then, the economy for geometric considerations is pretty high because there's plenty of supply and there's plenty of demand for it.
Well, it's the religious
Thanks to
faith of the
Hollywood.
time, isn't it? This is our current religious belief. The one world religion is heliocentrism.
So the $53 million a day NASA gets is just a tithing.
Basically, yeah, you could call it a tiding.
That was a good one, John. Guys.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You give tithes to your priests. Well, the priests of your religion, the current sky religion, is heliocentrism. That is the current sky religion. So give generously via your tax dollars and pounds and rupees or whatever else you've got as your currency, euros. Nobody wants the Australian dollars. Only joking.
Right. So they definitely fill up the supply part for the geometric consideration economy. Right? The supply part is definitely filled.
Supply
What
as
do you
in...
think the average salary is of an astronaut?
I don't know. Why?
I'm just, in the movies, when they're depicted in the movies, it's like they're real successful. They got a lot of money. I'm just wondering what their salary is.
What, are you thinking of applying or what? Need the hours as well? Holidays, maybe?
No, but they're highly educated to be an astronaut. No, can't be a dummy.
No, they just need to lie real well.
I don't know what the criteria is. We're not privy to that information. We just know what the end result is, right? So there might be a whole rigmarole that you've got to go through in terms of their way of brainwashing you into not realising that you're lying through your back teeth. I mean, I've heard that postulated by people before, and you're like, well, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they are MK Ultra'd or brainwashed in the more figurative, more literal than figurative way. You just don't know. What I do know is they're lying through their back teeth. There is no sky vacuum. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container?
Three containers.
3 containers.
Yeah.
Try again, maybe. Any evidence
Does
you
what?
can have gas pressure without a container, let alone 3?
Well, what if you consider one container getting rid of the other container? So, like, you got a container on both sides. You can go ahead and mark that off and just say no container.
So a bit like if you break someone's leg running over them accidentally with your car, and you just go, it's all right, if you come and run over my leg, everything will be equal and everything will be okay again. Right?
Exactly.
Can we have this drive without any broken legs? Well, we can, or we could have 2 broken legs. Yeah, without a container means without any broken legs. Not 2 broken legs cancelling out. That doesn't work. 2 containers doesn't make no container.
There's only one way to think you can do that, and it is by assuming you're not in a container despite knowledge of natural law.
Michio Kaku quote from Jules Lutz says, in cosmology, we are off by a factor of 10 to the 120th. This is the largest mismatch between theory and experiment in the history of science. Michio Kaku. Thank you very much for the super chat.
Classic.
Well, they never hide the fact that they tell us every day that they're lying.
Well, the whole thing about
experiment was-
insanely large, the whole thing about astronomical sized numbers is that once it just surpasses a certain scale, it doesn't really matter anymore to the general public how much it is off, because it is all so far outside of reach. Like, oh, 1 infinity or 2 infinity doesn't really matter anymore, right?
Can't have 1 infinity, it's just infinity.
I know.
What experiment was Michio Kaku talking about?
He didn't actually specifically say that. He just alluded to it to make it sound like that they've got experimental data and this mathematics disagrees with the experimental data. You know, makes it seem like, wow, isn't that salacious? Wow, off by that much, eh? Off compared to the experiment, eh? That then just useful to brainwash you into belief that they've actually got some sort of scientific experiment. I mean, I assume that Jules has been watching Jeranism because he's recently been putting out a whole bunch of stuff about this. One video specifically with quotes, including that quote from Michio Kaku and Richard Feynman. If it disagrees with the experiment, it's wrong. Like, yeah. What experiment have you got? Let's have a look what we're agreeing with first. And everything they have would be to say that it's in a disagreement with the experiment because there is no experiment. What's it to be in agreement with if there isn't anything?
Right. They don't know whether it disagrees with experiment because they never tried it. Because you can't.
Well, it's like saying, let's discuss an aspect of Narnia, discuss it as being true, and then after the fact say, well, if the time dilation through the wardrobe disagrees with experiment, then it's wrong. You're like, well, what do you mean if going through the wardrobe disagrees with experiment? What experiment? How is this in any way experimentally valid? It's just a story. Story of travelling to a far-off land no one else can go to, called space. I mean Narnia.
I'd like to see Feynman say that the way you just said it. If going out of the wardrobe disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. Ooh.
It's more the mathematics of the time dilation, which we can argue about all day long, right? And before long, before you know it, you've reified time dilation through wardrobe transition into physical existence, like it's something that you need to concern yourself with in everyday life. And then you move on to, well, let's ascribe some sort of force to the time dilation occurrence. You know, why not? It's like all only occurring in the mathematics. It's taking place in a world that we're never going to travel to because it doesn't exist. We just won't tell you that. We just pretend Narnia is real and we go there all the time. Now give us money to go back. Oh, we went back, but it was really expensive to build up that technology now. Obviously, it's going to cost considerably more in modern times to go back. Last time we went to Narnia, you know, all you needed was a pair of snow boots and, you know, a fur coat. These days, it's much more complicated than that. You need a lot more than just a fur coat. You need fully tested suits.
Well, there's this movie called Deja Vu, and that's what they do. But they explain how Einstein's theory of bending space-time and all of that nonsense with a little piece of paper, how they fold it in half and you can go right through, and they make it seem so easy that you could just time travel.
Yeah, you just wrap the universe around a wormhole and travel between the two sides of the wormhole, and Bob's your uncle, you've gone through some fold in space-time to a different period. I mean, how difficult can it be, Neil?
Hold on, wormholes are not about space-time. That's only space. It's pure spatiality. It doesn't actually. It is not taking place in pseudo-Riemannian force space.
Wormholes, yeah, they are. Wormholes taking place in pseudo-Riemannian force space, and they would connect two different parts of space and time, potentially giving you a shortcut between the two.
Really? And time? I've never heard that and time, though.
Yeah. Obviously, geometrically
they say
and
the
physically,
wormhole.
in the heliocentric model, if you're in a different part of space-time and you travel to that different part, in the same way as if you could bend space and time round upon itself to reach parts that you could see in the distant future, or distant past, sorry, like the CMB, well then if you've curved the universe up upon itself, obviously this is all taking place in the theoretical world of pseudo-Riemannian force space, then all you'd need is something to connect those two as they're folded under each other, right? Well, what do you need?
No.
Well, you need a wormhole.
I'm afraid you got it wrong, Nathan. I think you've mistaken the concept of a wormhole, which is really a space-only theoretical physics phenomenon, for the distortion of the space-time continuum, in which actual time displacement is also said to take place through the Star Trek universe conception. But that's very different.
Well, no. Black holes use time. Black holes use time for volume. They're infinitely dense without volume. They're like a point, an event in space-time.
Yeah, but they distort the time, but they don't take it out of whack. You don't end up in another time by going to a black hole. It's simply supposed to condense the actual time, basically making you stuck, but it doesn't like switch you off to another timeline. That only happens for space-time continuum distortion.
Fine.
It's all make-believe anyway.
No, I'll buy that. That sounds familiar. It's been, what, 20 years since I looked at this, Arwin, so I'll buy that. That sounds like the kind of bullshit I read at the time. You know, so if you say so.
Well done.
The Rosen Bridge would be what would connect those 2 points, right? But the black hole, it's still within space-time because it's affecting time.
So they say.
So maybe you need a combination of both. You need a combination of black and white holes working in conjunction with each other. So you've got time being sucked out of the universe by a black hole and then it being returned by the white hole, and then Bob's your uncle, you've travelled through time. There you go. I could patent that.
But the thing is about a white hole is it's white. If there was a white hole, you would see it because space is black.
Yeah, but it would be...
Listen, Denzel Washington went back in time 4 days, stopped the terrorists from bombing a boat, and saved the girl's life at the same time. So it's true.
Okie dokie. Let's just do another shout out to Jules Luds again. Thank you very much for the super chat. Says, I would argue Michu is by a factor of 10 to the infinity. Shout out to Made by Jim Bob. Shout out to Made by Jim Bob. Thank you for the super chat, Jules.
Right. Neil was talking about the Tenet universe. That's also different because in that universe, they suggest basically that an individual spirit can be switched to a railroad in which the normal timeline is experienced in reverse. Which is kind of unique, really, except for they did it in Red Dwarf, too.
Yeah, it's all bullcrap.
Well, that's how Merlin experienced existence, wasn't it? In the story, King Arthur's tales.
Sort of.
Well,
It wouldn't surprise me. Most
no,
stories
he
are
aged in
recycled.
reverse.
Most stories
He
are
aged in reverse.
most
Can I
stories.
get a sound check?
Yes, we can hear you. I'm sure Armin can hear me saying the same thing 3 times. Most stories are recycled. There's very little new under the sun in that regard. Now there's silence, of course.
Well, you missed my good pun about Merlin and what John said.
About a fish.
No, I said sort of.
Sort of.
Sort of.
King Arthur and Merlin. He said Merlin did something, and I said, yeah, sort of.
I see. Very good. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Thank the Lady of the Lake, 10th man.
What is the sun?
Don't know.
And I want an answer now.
Don't know. Sorry.
It's over there, Neil.
I'd love to give you an answer. I'd love to be capable, but I don't have it, Neil, I'm afraid.
Well, then I'm just gonna have to believe what they tell me. Then it's a ball of hydrogen, right? Something
No.
like that.
No, it's just 3 times the distance of a rainbow. That's it. You're gonna have to do it with that.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No, that's a joke too. But the funny thing is, if you can't give certain people an answer, then they're just gonna tell you straight out. Then until you give me an answer, I'm gonna go with and this is what they say. I'm gonna go with what the scientists tell me.
To use the mathematics associated with gravity, we would first need to measure a radius.
That's correct. Can't have G without R.
But if gravity wasn't real, then why do the special trajectory calculating computers have to calculate carefully the pathway for a ship to go to light speed through, or they would crash, right?
You
Where's
see
this
how much
happening again?
fuel that the Saturn V rockets, you see their fuel tanks? Arwin, of course. We went to the moon because of the size of fuel tanks, right?
Where was the journey?
Oh yeah.
The journey took place where now?
Over there.
In an area where gas could occupy.
Yeah, but the moon is within Earth's atmosphere, so it is now technically possible. Oh wait, I said atmosphere, didn't I?
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
How much were they off again?
10 to the minus 120th or something like that. Scroll up to that super chat again.
No,
A
they
lot.
weren't off by
But it's
negative,
just
Debbie.
maths. 10 to the 120th.
Yep.
A lot.
Well, if you're that far off, then how are you going to do an experiment?
What, in maths? What's the phenomena?
Light you see in the distance, and based on presuppositions of the Earth being a globe, having a certain radius, that everything does have a certain distance in relation to it?
Call that a phenomena?
No.
And wouldn't a single zero being added to a number, taking 1 to 10, would make it inaccurate? And thereby, if they can add 120 zeros, and they think that going from 1 to 1 followed by 120 is still acceptable, I
Well,
can't even
you'd
wrap my head
say-
around it.
At some point, if you're going to be that far off with theorizing about distances in this presumed galaxy, like, why wouldn't they just actually measure a distance somewhere and finally get rid of these misunderstood sized up distances? Like, why don't they just measure it and get it on with?
Because the only measurements we
Borders
have
are-
are flat.
No, because it doesn't actually exist out there. There's nothing to measure. It's all just lights with no actual position, no actual distance, just angular relations, and that's it.
The ballers have been claiming that they bounced radio signals off the sun and thereby have measured distance to sun.
Yeah, they also claim it's a black body, don't they?
How? Did anybody explain
Well-
how that mechanically worked?
It
I can
didn't.
post
Anybody
something,
at
but
all?
just in Discord.
Didn't. Can't get a radar bounce off a black body. That's what they claim it is.
They have the unique ability of measuring things they never could see.
Make
But
it up.
isn't that the whole point of a black body, is that you can't detect it because everything bounces off it?
Right.
So
Oh,
that's
I
like saying,
got it.
oh, we just finally measured and sized up a piece of dark matter.
Hold on, I got
But
this
the
one.
entire point is that you can't measure it.
Go on, John.
Just like an isolated system or an ideal gas, there is no true black body.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying that they could probably sell that
Oh, I see. Oh, you were pitching
bullshit.
that. Yeah, that could work.
That's racist.
That
Like-
self-identified black body.
Don't oppress the sun. If it wants to identify as a black body, it can.
Whoa.
So it claimed that it was 1960 and they did a radar echo from the sun. 1960 was about the same time as they were doing moon bounce and ionospheric bounce. So once again, how can we know with certainty it was bouncing off the sun besides all the black body stuff that you just described?
Quick shout out again to Jules Lutz, who says in a massive 159.99 super chat, in empirical science, we require an experiment, hypothesis, independent variable, dependent variable, null and controlled systematic variation of the independent variable to determine causal representation of the hypothesis. Period. Couldn't have said it better myself, Jules Lutz. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. What did we cover? Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
You missed a super chat before that.
Did I?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, so I did. 10th man's puns are like space. Out of this world, says Al Junkie. Thank you very much for the super chat also.
That would be a universally accepted truth.
Universal law of 10th man puns. Thank you
He's
very
going to
much.
start a pandemic.
Pandemic, love it. Did we cover it all? Is that all housekeeping?
Yeah, but
hold on. Now we
But
go.
Armin took a jab at me. Do I get a chance to respond?
Oh, here we go. That was a good
But you're
one.
already resistant, so...
Okay, enough puns. Right, I'm going to do a couple of shout-outs. So, from the chat, somebody says that Rob Skeever's ill. Did anybody know that? If you are, get well soon, Rob. Hope you're okay.
Dude, everybody's spamming it all over the chats.
Rob is sick?
Say again?
Yeah. Apparently, he went to a conference. It was a little heavy, and then he got sick afterward. Kind of like the time that I went to the Amsterdam conference, and then right after, even predicted beforehand, like, I'm going to get sick, because it's just very tense and exciting. And so he probably, got sick.
Was tippy your seat stuff.
It was for me.
Okay.
Meeting all these flat earthers face to face for the very first time, you know?
A couple of other shout outs. Because over the weekend, I found out that there is not just one, get this, 2 apps that allow you to press the flesh as a flat earther. Now, I was unaware of either of them, and there's been a bit of a, let's just say, friendly competitive banter between the two, because they're obviously competitors. So one's obviously trying to gather as many people into their app as the other, but I think it's absolutely fantastic. Go from nothing like this to having, admittedly one of them's incorporated into another app. By the same token, it's still part of the app. So I'm going to shout out both of them. So there's the Flat Earth People Finder, which is completely free. So it's several thousand users strong already. And it's a completely free application. So go and download it today. Check it out. Flat Earth People Finder. As far as I'm aware, it's available on Android and iOS for free. So at the very least, you can download that and see it in your local area. Very, very cool app. Also, DITRH has his sort of all-encompassing app. It does quite a few different things. And it's called the Sun, Moon... Oh, sorry, I'll start that again. Flat Earth, Sun, Moon and Zodiac Clock app. Bit of a mouthful. But over the last few days, they have also launched a similar application. So part of that particular app is now, you can go into it, click on it, I did this, and see who's around your local area. I was absolutely shocked how many people were on there. Like, local. It's like, wow, there's people around me that have obviously gone to the extent of paying, I think it was £2.50, not a great deal of money, to download the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon and Zodiac Clock app. So yeah, check it out. There's two really cool apps that have just emerged out of nowhere in the last few days. Well, not in the last few days. I've been made aware of them in the last few days. I'm sure they've been in development for a very long period of time and gathering up their audience. But as a direct result of I'm not going to mention who, but one of the two moaning about the other one, I came across them. So I'll just say this: there's no such thing as bad publicity, because if it wasn't for that little, "Oi, I've got that app. What are you doing with my app? I developed that app," sort of thing that was going on. But it's like, from an outside point of view, you're like, yeah, that might be annoying. But if you're going to set up a new chip shop, new restaurant, where's the best place to set it up? Next door to the one that already exists with a customer base. That's where. That's something that will drive more people to the chip shop. I've seen it happen, actually. But aside from chip shop examples, that's what you've got to do. You don't set it up in somewhere that's got absolutely no customer or business for chips. You set it where people know to go for chips. That makes sense. So both competition breeds success, and this is no different. So the fact that there are two now technically competing apps out there trying to bring people together, I think that is something to be celebrated. I think it's absolutely glorious, and my hat is off to both of those people for making those apps. So shout out to both of you. The YouTuber, just one more thing before I round this out. Obviously, DITRH, many people will be aware of Dave Weiss, so if you're not, check out DITRH, go and download his app. but also Flathead Politics, who is the app developer for Flat Earth People Finder. So check him out as well. Again, I didn't know he existed as a YouTuber, which isn't surprising given that we receive basically no promotion, cross-pollination or anything else from YouTube. So not a shock in that regard. Hence me constantly saying, please share the show. Very, very important that you do so. Because that's the only way that anybody will ever come to watch this show. If you personally, I'm talking to you, if I had the camera on, pointing at you in the audience, share the show. And in that respect, although it was a little bit of bad blood that got me to that particular YouTuber, I subscribed and downloaded apps as a result of it. So no such thing as bad publicity, but still, share the show. I'm done.
Well, since there's a finder for flat earthers, somebody should make an app for anti-flat earthers, because they have to be extremely lonely. And, you know, it's not like they're ballers anymore. So they need something themselves, right?
Oh, I see. So you could say, you know, you can come and meet Craig or Dan as an anti-flat earther. We are one. We are Borg.
Right. You know, there's probably a market for that. And since they're willing to throw away $53 million a day, you know, I'm sure they'll pay good for it if anybody wants to do it.
Let us know in the comments if you're interested in developing an anti-flat earth app to unite people like Simon, Dan and Craig. Then, you know, you just let me know if that's something that's of interest to you. You know, meeting others that want to sit around and moan about me. Shout out to Retro Bill. He says, just wondering who is responsible for making 2021 the year of the sextant. Massive kudos to that ace bloke. I think that was Eli, was it not?
I think it was the Black Swan.
No, I'm pretty sure it was Eli.
10th being humble over there.
It was the Black Swan.
10th man dubbed this the year of the sextant very early into 2021. And he made a point of saying it early in 2021. 2020 was the year of the Black Swan. 2021 will be the year of the sextant. The sextant demolishes the sphere and proves it's flat. And he's right. So 10th man was that man, Retro Bill. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat.
Inspired by
What have I done?
What was that? Who was that? Eli, I was just using
Eli.
you as a joke. It was asked who
Okay.
dubbed it the year of the sextant, and I said it was you.
How rude.
I would say that
Did 10th ever?
tangent lines, and that they have to be horizontal lines, straight lines. Got people thinking about the whole sextant. So I'd give you credit, Nathan.
Apparently,
Did
Jules
10th man
Luds,
ever?
sorry, just 1 sec, says, I got kicked out of a Flat Earth chat for asking if the lockdowns are pushing you over the edge. Laughy face. I don't know if that's true or sarcastic, but I really appreciate the super chat. Thank you very much indeed. You've been uber generous today, Jules Luds. Don't know if you had a big windfall, but I'm very grateful for all the support. Thank you very much.
Did 10th man ever consolidate all of his sextant presentations into one, or is it still kind of just a lot of information?
I've got it all condensed in one slide I just sent to Nathan in Master B. So Nathan, if you want to show the one slide.
One slide? You joking?
Yeah, it's in one slide.
One slide.
It's really
Please
easy.
post in Discord.
Yes, I have seen this actually. It is a good slide.
Yeah, you need when you travel roads to get to places, there's a Highway 180, straight line.
Love it. So this is your position, admittedly depicted at the horizon, but you'd be measuring out from this position to the GP of this star, or sun in this example, with 90 degrees below the GP of that star, or at the GP of that star, meeting at 90 degrees to travel out from your position to that point on the ground. It must be flat for this to work. You can't acquire a 90-degree angle from a curved surface. This cannot and does not work on a sphere. Excellent. Good slide.
Yeah, I was thinking about how to make it simpler, and I said, you know what? the thought just came into my mind. Put these images together.
Cool. I wonder if anybody will download the Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, or the Flat Earth Friend Finder app, or Flat Earth People Finder, I should say, to give it its correct app name.
Could
Nice.
someone in Master B post this in Discord?
The picture of the protractor.
The summary photo of tents.
S'il sent qu'il était pareil, il me le dira. Au goût, à l'odeur.
Oh, okay, I won't take you off mute. Aquila. Got your mic wide open. About to pop you on server mute. See if this person's paying the slightest bit of attention.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Hi there.
Good to have you.
Yeah, I'm just coming to the stream for listening to you. I'm from France, so my English is not the best, but I like your work, and I want to thank you just for all your stuff you're doing there. So thank you, and I just listen, guys.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. Hello, Adam, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Afternoon, everyone. Sorry for my tardiness. Running a bit late today.
Yeah, me too.
Too lovely a day here. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I went out to a picnic. It was lovely. Well,
Summer's back.
I say that. It wasn't lovely because I went to Coventry, which is a shithole.
Oh, it is. So you've been very generous today, Nathan.
Generous to who?
Coventry, frankly, that's more than a kind description of Coventry.
Yeah. We were trying to find a car park around the Memorial Park, and they'd closed all major car parks around it and all ancillary car parks around it. So essentially, there's a park surrounded by main roads that you can't park anywhere near. Literally. But there we go. That was the fun that was travelling to Coventry today. We eventually got there. Very exciting stuff. I can see you're all totally riveted.
I caught a bit on the way home. Literally just sort of coming in there, you were chatting about the apps. I'm going to go and have a little nosy at that. I'll download those and see who's around me in Nottingham.
Hey, Nathan, I provided the one picture that describes the globe model in Master B to contrast with the one I put in.
Okay, it's up. This does actually have some provenance in the respect that this is actually used depictorially to claim how a sextant works on a sphere. This is literally an artist's rendition of how they say it works on a sphere. We're not even joking. I don't know who came up with this, but it's a bloody embarrassment, this one.
I really like it, though.
Someone defending a sphere actually made this, like, seriously?
Yeah,
Yeah.
to explain triangulation on a sphere. Yes, this is one of the diagrams used to explain triangulation on a sphere. That's correct.
That has to be the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, triangulation on a sphere is a dumb thing to assert because it's impossible. Here's why. But this is what they used to show how it was possible, believe it or not.
There was a scene in Billy Madison where the guy that was questioning the two at the end of it said, you know, everyone is now dumber for having heard what you said. I think everyone is a little bit dumber for have seen that picture.
I would agree.
I wouldn't say, to be fair, I mean, if I was trying to produce a diagram that just showed how ridiculous the claim of being able to use this trig on a ball is, that's the kind of diagram I've come up with. I wouldn't be chuffed if I was obviously trying to make a point that you can do this on a ball, but certainly for Thames purposes, I think they've produced them a fantastic slide that shows the ridiculousness of their claims.
But Adam, I didn't produce the slide. It was an actual
that's right.
navigation.
No, he gets that.
Done it for you, Temp, you know, to show, save you having to show with a slide of your own how ridiculous it is to try and match up what they're claiming to reality as if you were on a ball and be able to measure these things. They've demonstrated how muppety it is for you.
It's the pictorial
Yeah, I get
example
it
of
now.
QE saying, just let them open their mouths and they'll do all the hard work for you. Just let them write it down or show you a picture of it like this and they'll do all the hard work for you.
That's correct.
It's an embarrassment. I mean, it is truly embarrassing to assert a sphere belief these days. As far as I can tell, if you are here, if you are listening to this show right now, I don't care which side of the fence you are, you must appreciate how ludicrous it is to assert that you're on a sphere. Or share your pain. Obviously, you know, there's people who would say, no, you know, this is perfectly acceptable. It isn't. It doesn't work.
I just posted the full video on Master B, the link to it. So if anyone doesn't appreciate the work they've done for us, you can go watch the whole video.
Yeah, I'll pop it up in context and just scrub through it just so people can see that we're not actually lying, that this is genuinely part of a Globehead's description of how triangulation works. Let's just get the ad. Here we go. Using a sextant. How do you use the sextant to measure celestial altitudes of heavenly bodies? And the timestamp for this is here. There you go. That's him showing how it works. 1 minute 36. I'll even share the video. It's in the chat if you want to check it out. If you want to let him know that his video helped you convert to flat earth, that would be equally great. Don't troll him or her. Steering mariners. Very good.
Well, he's not alone. They all say this. He just happened to put a nice image on it because they're all saying this. They have that local horizon of theirs. They have that local tangent plane. They carry their flat earth wherever they need to get it right, and then they dispose of it when they go back to their religion of heliocentrism.
I know they're all saying it, Tim, but and often when they say it confidently, quickly, with lots of maths thrown in there, you kind of miss the point of what their claim is. But kindly, because they've done that picture, you can't miss the point of what they're claiming the maths they're doing is. And that picture just demonstrates that none of it has got anything to do with the maths they're about to claim or use. The picture demonstrates in defiance of the maths they're stating.
And why is it, Adam, that so-called smart people can't see the obvious contradiction?
My dad always used to say to me, he says, you got tons of brains, lad, but no common sense. That's often the case with the academic, isn't it?
So when you're force-fed indoctrination and you're just parroting things that you've learned through school and you've never been critical to understand why they say something is that the outcome then? You just put up a picture and say, see, there it is, but you have no common sense?
Yeah, sometimes it takes something as simple as instead of, like I say, the complicated mathematical description, which can intimidate and make you not necessarily see the obvious, just look at the numbers, not necessarily what the numbers are representing, and you can look at the numbers and check the numbers out, and the numbers are okay, yeah, all looks very intelligent and academic. But actually, when simple things sometimes show you the ridiculousness of what the maths is supposedly dealing with, and that picture demonstrates that the reality and the measurements we're taking do not and cannot fit. You're going to be measuring it on a ball. It just exemplifies it for me. But it's that common sense bit. The common sense is looking at the picture and realizing that none of that is commensurate with each other, is it anymore? Oh, I missed the pencil.
But yes, I think you're right in your summary, 10th. You blinkered to stuff if you've been indoctrinated with it. It may seem like common sense, but if everyone around you is in agreement, if you're in an actual cult, which I would say heliocentrism is, it's just people are well unaware of it, and it's probably the case in any other cult. The people in it don't think they're in a cult. They think everyone else is weird. Well, if you actually take that person aside and explain how they're in a cult, there's a good chance that they'll brace against what you're telling them as being false, even if you've got good, strong evidence to prove it, because they're brainwashed, indoctrinated, living that lie, and it's very difficult to let go of that. So people are good. People are good at processing things cognitively, and this sort of thing is the end result. In your mind, you say, "Well, yeah, that's all right. That's fine, because we're on a sphere and it must work. It does work." And then later go on to explain how it actually is functioning without acquiring the 90 degrees. So having an arc that won't give you this square box that's depicted. Again, this person's drawn up this diagram and gone, yeah, that makes sense. Like, so 3,000 miles, this is to Brian's logic's point, if it's curving up, then the area of land that you're actually utilising isn't in the position that it could be when triangulate it with an actual 90-degree box as in this diagram. It's like this depiction not only won't give you the 90 degree, but if you just measured the horizon and assumed it, but you did have the curved surface, when you plotted out your position, it would change that position, because this line is no longer straight. So it's showing on the diagram below, you've got a radius line to the GP, 3,000 miles. It's like, well, that's straight. It must be if it's a radius. That's what a radius is. But it isn't. Look, it's in the diagram bent. So is it bent or is it straight? Well, it must be straight, because you've got this box to show and prove that it's straight. It's 90 degrees to it. Does this look like 90 degrees, ladies and gentlemen? No, it's batshit insane and crazy, and definitely not matching this 90-degree claim, because you've got a curve here. But again, like I say, cognitively, whoever's drawn this out has gone, yeah, that makes sense, because I am on a sphere. Like, no, it doesn't. Where'd you get your 90?
The following slide is the one that Adam made the point of with Al-Biruni. He didn't make a mistake.
You want to talk through this one, Adam? A height of
The
90.
following, the next slide I put up after that.
Oh yeah, you've got there the maths, the geometry behind how Al-Biruni supposedly calculated the height of the mountain that he was going to go to the top of and measure his dip angle from. But the reality issue when you're drawing the geometry on there, if you look at it where the right angle is, that's the height you're trying to measure. Now, unless you're able to drill down from the top of your mountain all the way down to the base, you can't measure that height directly, because you can't get to the center of the bottom of the mountain. So what he's done is use trigonometry to basically calculate that length d, which is measurable, and from there you can use corresponding angles in the trig to work out h. This is correct geometry. It's correct trig. The trouble is when you try to apply that to reality, d for them is curved. And this is a very small example. I think Al-Biruni's was a lot bigger because he's dealing with a bigger mountain. So d's got to be miles and miles in length. You to be able to look up at the mountain, draw an angle, and take it from the two places. But that d in the diagram and in geometry is a straight line. Unfortunately for Al, his fundamentals of his claim is that the Earth's surface is curved. Therefore, his fundamental principle of trying to calculate the height based on geometry of his mountain is based on false mathematics. First of all, because his bottom line is curved. Unlike what he's claiming on there, on that red one, you can see that's the line he's measuring, but underneath that the Earth's curving away. Therefore, the line he measures has nothing to do with his supposed surface of his Earth.
So he had to assume and deal with Earth as flat to first acquire the height of the mountain, to then claim he can measure dip angle to the geometric horizon to derive R. So he starts off with a flat plane, so he can measure it and assume it as spherical.
Oh, the irony.
Well, isn't that what Ranty Flat Earth did with his straw man about angular size? He got the angular sizes from a flat plane and then put them back in orthographic view to claim that there was a dip.
That's correct.
They got one trick.
That's
one
correct.
Trick.
It's got a name. We called it Mong Trig.
Trigonometry, isn't it?
Well, this is just a variation of that, isn't it? Like what they're trying to claim.
Well, theirs is a little bit more sneaky, isn't it? I don't think when I look at Al-Biruni, he's intentionally trying to deceive. He's just got, it's paradoxical, isn't it? Again, yeah? He's got no other choice than to take it as flat. Otherwise, he's got nowhere to start. He's got nowhere. He has to make that assumption first, even though he knows it's wrong, because if he doesn't, he'd need R in the first place to work out the rate of curve to give that distance any rate of curve. So he can measure it in real world, but unless he's already got R, he can't figure out how much it curves to adjust his angle for in the first place to calculate what his rate of curve is.
Yeah, it's paradoxical before he's even begun because he has to get the height off a flat plane. Earth's flat. Al-Biruni knew it when he measured the height of the mountain. The fact that he then went up the mountain and went on to presuppose that the horizon was a physical geometric sphere edge that he could measure a dip to doesn't alter the fact that the first measurement he took was on a flat plane. It's embarrassing, really. You'd think somebody would have realised that in the story. Oh yeah, he's measuring dip angle to get R. But first he measures it flat to get the height. That's alright. That don't matter, no one will notice. We didn't notice till Adam noticed.
Well, it is embarrassing, isn't it? Like, because we're all, at one point in time, were heliocentrists. Like, it is an embarrassing religion when you step outside of it and look back at it.
Right out there for this week's shows. So, why is Al-Biruni measuring the height of the mountain on a flat plane? I doubt there's anybody in Discord with an answer to that right now, but I'm going to throw it out there. It's not going to become a housekeeping question, but I'd like to know if anybody's got an explanation for what is depicted on screen now in terms of how, using trig, you derive the height of the mountain to later measure dip angle to a physically assumed to be horizon that blocks things. Well, first you must measure the mountain's height, and that's done on a flat plane. So, globe believers, aka flat earthers, the people actually here watching this, Al-Biruni knew it was flat. It must have been for him to get the height of the mountain. What's your explanation? What have you got to say for this? It's embarrassing, right?
It's flat.
It is flat. I'm watching the chat go by. You're here now, anti-flat earthers in the chat. There's several of you. What's going on? Al-Biruni's measuring Earth as flat to get the height of the mountain. Fact. So Al-Biruni knows it's flat. That's how he makes the starting point of his measurements to make your sphere assumption that you all lean on. Yeah, he might have made the sphere assumption, but he started his maths flat, didn't he? So who's going to comment on this? Has anybody got anything to say about this? Al-Biruni's measuring the Earth flat. That's a fact.
They're not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
That's why I'm going to bang this drum all week. Al-Biruni's measuring Earth as flat. You say he's the one that gives you your R value. You can get dip angle measurements. Really? Not unless you assume it's flat first. Yeah, you can assume Earth's a sphere. You can presuppose whatever you like. Like I said at the beginning of the show, you can presuppose it's a roast chicken. But if you're going to actually take any measurements, you've got to start with it being flat, because that's how it is. To then later just assume it's a spherical surface after measuring it flat to begin with, which is precisely what Al-Biruni has done. Isn't it mad? Al-Biruni knew it was flat, just like we do.
Because
There's
it
a
was while
slide.
to spot it, Temp, didn't it? But I think the reason it took so long is it was never intended to be released or even notice that information until the year of the sextant. And it has lovely synergy with the sextant. It's
I got another slide up there, Nathan. It's a WikiHow, and this kind of corresponds with the Al-Biruni.
Is it the one with alt equals 40 degrees at the top?
It says WikiHow, WIKIHOW at the top.
Yeah, got it.
Okay. Correct for dip to account for your distance above sea level. Dip refers to the difference between your elevation and the actual level of the horizon. The actual level of the horizon. Love the language. To make this correction, multiply 1.7725 minutes by the square root of your elevation, including the height of your eye in meters. Subtract this number from your observed altitude, the reading you got on the sextant when you measured the elevation of an object.
Very good.
And if you continue on the slideshow,
okay,
you see S1 and then below S1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
Yeah, well, if you read this, from this, a navigator knows he is on a specific circle along the plane of the surface of Earth, of radius r, known as the line of position, LOP. He does not know his direction from this point. However, by examining a second star, a second radius can be deduced. The navigator now knows he is at one of the points where both of the circular functions meet. In the case that there is only one real route, he knows his position, although this is only possible if the radii are parallel. Look at those 3 star sightings with 3 different circle of equal altitudes, covering thousands of miles. And where they all cross is the fix. And see the 90-degree symbol there, the box. That box kills the globe Earth. And that box is needed for navigation over the oceans of thousands of miles, a flat. Or you can't put that box there. There's your right angle. There's your triangulation. Next slide.
Okay.
But you ballers are going to get fooled by this because you're saying, oh, okay, that circle of equal altitude with the box, that makes everything flat. See, there it is on the globe. See, 3,000 miles of curved denoted by a box. Something should go off in your brain. This slide is not real. The distances are real. The flat level surface it needs is real. But your brain is asleep. Wake up, ballers. It's the year of the sextant.
Perfect. I think that's probably going to be my opportunity to ask anybody who is watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams to stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Massive shout out to Unitox who smashed the super chat just as I started doing this outro. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on a premiering stream, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!